BBC Radio Bristol.
John Darvel.
Here's a question for you. How much do you know about endometriosis? Probably not enough. And would it surprise you to know that in fact it affects roughly 1 in 10 women, probably a lot more. Becky from Clevedon started experiencing problems when she went through puberty aged 10 to 11. But it took years to get a diagnosis, and she's here now along with her sister. Good afternoon to you both. Thanks for coming in.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much.
No. We'll come to the researcher in just a moment, Becky, but I'm going to start with you. Come to your sister with you. Let's just start with you. So, we're talking about your first period.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you remember that?
I remember being in a lot of pain. I thought that it was pretty normal, that it was just meant to be like that. But yeah, I was 11 years old and I thought, okay, this is just kind of what it's going to be like for the rest of my life.
Why did you think that?
I don't know. There just wasn't any research really gone into it. Like, we just didn't know much about it. And even though like my mum had struggled in the past with hers, we just didn't put 2 and 2 together that it wasn't normal.
So because mum had period pains, in inverted commas, that's often what it was described as, wasn't it? Period pains. You thought, well, that's my fate.
Yeah. You just think it's normal, basically.
Okay. At what point did you work out that it wasn't?
It was a lot of the time when I was in secondary school, because I guess you started in secondary school at age 11. So I think I got around to age 13, and I remember being like keeled over in agony just at the back of the classroom in so much pain, sort of bleeding through, unable to do PE, just in complete agony, like my legs.
So you're talking heavy periods?
Yeah, like heavier than anything. I just knew something wasn't quite right. And it just had loads of other effects on me. Like my skin just seemed a lot worse than anyone I knew. My back pain was crazy. I was struggling to walk. It just didn't seem like quite normal to me.
Did you talk to your friends about this? I don't know whether you girlfriends talk about these sorts of things, but did you talk to your friends about it?
Definitely. And like a lot of the time spoke to my sister about it as well, but she'd never had any problems with hers. So it was kind of a bit like, oh, what's going on? We just had no idea what was happening. But, you know, I was always pretty open with friends and my mum and sister and everything about it.
So you had friends who would have a period, sail through it, out the other side, and that would be it.
Yeah.
And then you're bent double at the back of the classroom, unable to do PE, and I'm guessing probably suffered some embarrassing times.
Yes.
With blood as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah. That was probably the worst thing of it. I think imagine. You're very young and you just are like, oh God, what am I supposed to do?
So much going on anyway, and then that happens on top as well.
Yeah, especially in school in a social setting.
Yeah, exactly. And this was every month. You didn't get, it wasn't some worse than others or time of year or
3 weeks out of every month. I was going through that basically. So
you had a week off.
A week off of normality, basically. Yeah. Which is crazy to think.
So was this, just so people understand this, because I think, again, this is period pains, as it was often described, and sometimes periods can be painful.
Yes.
But this was a crescendo? Did it sort of like you get a twinge and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger? Or did it just hit you like a wall and it was constant for that 3 weeks?
I think flare up, that's how I would describe it. You can feel the flare up kind of coming on, and I can still feel that now when it happens. You can feel like sort of parts of your body starting to tighten up, and you just feel in yourself that you're getting quite exhausted and like something bad's about to happen, basically.
And this is, effectively, this is swelling, isn't it?
Yeah, inflammation.
This is what it is. It's inflammation, because any endometriosis is part of that word. It's about swelling. Let me just bring your sister in here, if I may. Rhiannon, you didn't live with this.
No, I didn't.
So you don't get heavy periods at all?
No, mine were pretty like regular, and I didn't experience any pain whatsoever.
So regular periods, no pain, agony.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Because your mum also, we'll fast forward. Do you think your mum had endometriosis?
Definitely think so, especially because the things she's told me about how she felt when she was younger, it definitely seems like those would have been the symptoms. But again, then there was like not a single bit of research really gone into it, so she would have never known.
Well, I'm guessing that your mother would just have to put up and shut up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which, when you think about it, is an appalling state of affairs, because that's women like you in agony, trying to go through school, trying to hold down a job, trying to run a home, trying to hold a relationship together, their partner not knowing what the hell's going on. There's so many layers to this. How long did it take you to get the diagnosis?
So from actual symptoms to diagnosis, it was 8 years, which to me,
8 years?
yeah, and that's not even the worst length it can be. This sounds crazy, but I'm pretty lucky with that length. Like, you know, it's gone up to 10. It's getting longer and longer, but yeah, 8 years. Even when I was sort of offered, when my sister said she thinks it might be endometriosis and I went to the doctors, they were very adamant that they didn't want to do a laparoscopy, which is the only way you can diagnose it. They just, they were like, no, it's anxiety. We definitely don't think it's anything too serious.
Anxiety?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not that anxious that it's going to be doing that.
Well, I'd imagine you probably are anxious knowing that, you know, you've had your week off and it's about to start all over again.
Oh, yeah,
that would make you anxious, I'm
Yeah.
guessing, the way you described it, like, oh, well, here we go, you know, and you get that feeling, that welling up, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So this is what's often known as a diagnosis of exclusion, isn't it? So they have to sort of, and this is with medicine, they can do it, sometimes they can do a test and they go, ta-da, it's that. But often it's not that, so it could be this. It's not that, so it could be this. It's not that, it could be this. So I don't know, is that the only way that one can test for endometriosis, is a laparoscopy?
Yeah, laparoscopy, like cutting you open, like anything else,
Which is a fairly drastic thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, straight through the, no, it's kind of an icky thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, if they do the sort of a scan just on your belly or any of the other ones they offer you, like you can't see anything through that.
Because I'm guessing they'd have to catch it when the swelling's happening. And how do you spot swelling? I don't know. I'm no medical person.
No, that's fine. It's any time they could have found it. Yeah, because the cells are attaching to those different organs. So mine personally is like mainly on my pelvis area, like my bladder predominantly.
Because it isn't just the womb we're talking about here, is it? It can happen, as say, around the bladder, around the womb, around the pelvis, you know, and it can be in other parts of the body.
Yeah, it's known to spread up to the chest. Some people have said the head, and that's in very rare and like very dangerous cases. But yeah, mainly down in the pelvis area, like bowels, bladder, that's where it really likes to go to those places.
So you were living with this, and you, Rhiannon, you were watching your sister go through this. What did you do? Dr. Google it, or you know? Because we recommend that, because you can get yourself down a rabbit hole, and there's Alice in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter, and all sorts down there. But how did you arrive at what it could possibly be for your sister?
Well, I've always been quite interested in how sort of women are underrepresented or dismissed when it comes to medical diagnoses and the pain that women experience. So I've been quite interested in that my whole teenage life, and I was looking, watching YouTube videos and things like that, and endometriosis was something that came up quite a lot. And when Becky was describing her symptoms to me, I thought maybe I'll take a little look on Google. You're right.
Yeah.
And I put two and two
Managed to
together.
stop yourself going down the rabbit hole with the White Rabbit, Alice in Wonderland et al. Yeah,
I did, yeah.
Good. Well done.
But I just realised that this was the exact sort of symptoms she was facing, and that would be something that I would recommend she speak to the doctors about. And I came with her to.
Yeah.
So when you did, so you were there, when you said to your doctor, could this be endometriosis? What did your doctor say?
So that time I actually spoke to a nurse, and it was the first time that I'd felt listened to in the past 8 years. She said, do you know what? That could be it, yeah. And I was like, yeah, because it's printed out. I had it printed out on a piece of paper.
But it's only, I always say when we do these sort of interviews, that if your first source is, with the greatest respect, go to the NHS website.
Yeah.
It's there. There's all the symptoms of endometriosis are there, and all the options are there as well.
Yeah.
And it's not as if it's not known about, but it's not been spoken about. And I wonder whether it's just you've talked there, Rhiannon, about underrepresentation. It's just a heavy period. There, love. Which is awful when you think about the number of girls, women who've gone through this and are still going through this.
Yeah, definitely. And there's been a few things on social media recently about like people saying it's not even real, which is just crazy considering, it is obviously very real, and then that diminishes like people's feelings and makes them not want to go and get it checked because, they think, oh, maybe I am just being dramatic, but you're not, if you're feeling this, it's not in your head.
No, it's not. No, clearly, and you're proof positive of that. So, how do you manage it? What do you do? Because I think if anybody's ever seen a woman with a hot water bottle down the front of her trousers, chances are there may well be an indicator of endometriosis. Not saying that it is, but this is about managing that pain.
Yeah, this pain management is quite difficult. I went self-employed so that I could manage my time and everything. So that if there was bad days, etc. Hot water bottle, loads of painkillers, but some of them just don't even really touch the sides anymore.
Okay.
Cocodamol, but it is really tricky. But we were offered actually a really like good support group via Southmead Hospital, and so we were all put together, and there's nothing they could have done, but we were allowed to speak to each other about. It was like loads of us who had endometriosis, and that definitely helped me a lot because it was good to speak to other women who had it, and we sort of discussed how to manage our symptoms, and it was like
by collection, you can actually perhaps come up with some ideas that work for some. Might you give it a try, because I haven't tried that before. There's no cures for this, and there's no test for it either, is it? So you can't have a rather than the invasive laparoscopy, you can't have a blood test for it.
No, as far as I know, definitely not. And there is no cure, no, none at all.
There is the option to have the endometrial tissue lasered away. However, that's only offered if you are planning to get pregnant.
Yes, I was offered that, but then I said I didn't want a baby yet, so then it wasn't allowed, basically.
Does it affect fertility?
It does, yeah. Really, really badly affects fertility, which is obviously a huge thing that does play on my mind. It's not something that I'm like wanting yet, but it's always in the back of my head, like, what's going to happen with that.
So you've got all of these things that you're living with on a day-to-day basis, and obviously your sister doesn't. So this is a very good example of how, for a lot of women, this isn't a big issue, but for some women, this is life-defining, actually. That pain, living with that pain, managing that pain, anticipating it, and the possibility of how it might affect you in other ways. What needs to be done? I mean, we're talking about this today. I am learning from you. So what needs to be done?
I definitely think, like we're doing now, is just speaking about it. Like really, really speaking about it. Last month was Endometriosis Action Month. It used to be called Awareness, but now I like how they've changed it to Action, because it's like start actually doing.
Which is why I'm asking you what needs to be done. Rather than we're all, we all know what it is now, but what needs to be done?
So much more research, so much more funding. They're the only things I could really think of.
I think also making the space for women who suffer with endometriosis is important. So allowing them to have, special disability cards saying that they have this hidden illness and they should be allowed access.
Because it is a hidden disability, isn't it? Obviously, a hot water bottle down the front might be a clue, but you're right, this is hidden. And,
so
I'm guessing you mark it. I'm guessing you also mask it, or you try to, because if you're doing business, you're doing your job, you can't walk around and say, I've got endometriosis. You're probably masking it, aren't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mask it a lot at work. I mask it, in relationships, because you don't want to be like seeming like a burden, which is really tricky.
Not a burden.
No, I know that in my head, but I'm like, oh god.
But you feel like you are.
Yeah, because I don't want to be like ruining the vibe if I'm ill, but that's not.
but hang on. And this is not. I'm not criticising you here, Becky. But your partner, any relationship you may have, doesn't your partner need to know this so that they are better informed, so that they don't have to watch you try and go ta-da, and inside you're laughing. You've done that, haven't you?
Yeah,
you have.
You know what? Previous partners have actually been very good with it, because they have been understanding. But how understanding can someone be when they don't experience it day to day? That is what's tricky about it, I think.
Interestingly enough, there was actually one point where one of the only few studies done about endometriosis was how it affects the male partner.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest, to be fair, because obviously, it does, and it can affect careers. And you talked there about having places like the use of disabled toilets, that sort of thing. It's not just the use of a disabled toilet for those who have a physical disability. This is a physical disability, but it's not manifest as clearly as the use of a wheelchair. And period policies as well. I know that, we've had a number of businesses who in Bristol now have policies for periods and allow working from home. Hargreaves Lansdowne is a very good example of that more companies are trying harder to be understanding and create a more positive environment. But that only comes from people like your good self, Becky, putting your head above the parapet and going, this is me, as it were.
Yeah, you have to not be
and having
afraid
advocates
to talk
like
about
Rihanna
it.
as well.
Oh yeah, she's been a great help. Yeah, you have to just not be scared to speak about it, because I know it is taboo, and you're probably like worried that you're seeming dramatic. That's what women feel like, with feeling like we're being dramatic with it, but it isn't. It is a serious thing, and it's good to keep talking about it. And yeah, like I love the idea of like holding more space for like people that have it in the workplace and things like that, and just allowing us to like have things that make our lives a little bit easier.
Well, there'll be many who will be listening to you this morning and going, as well as me, I know, that's what I go through. And that's probably quite empowering, hopefully, for those that they can do something about it. They know more about it than they did 20 minutes ago. That's a good thing. Rhiannon and Becky, thank you so much for coming in and sharing this story with us. Really important story that we all know and understand more about what everyone's going through, and perhaps create a better environment for those living with it.
Thank you
both.
so much
Thank
for
you so
having us.
much.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate
Pleasure.
it.